All right, so once again, welcome everybody to the Assessments New User Webinar Part 1. This is part of a two webinar series. Part 1 is going to talk about learning the basics, and Part 2 will dive in a little bit more on the data. My name is Dawn Peterson. I'll be your webinar host today. Just a couple notes on webinar etiquette for this Zoom since we are recording. First, if you haven't found your microphone, please find it and make sure it's off so we don't hear any background noise on the recording. You can choose to have your video on or off. That is up to you. And then again, if you haven't found the chat, that should be right in the center of your screen. Brian is going to be monitoring the chat today, so if you have any questions, have any wonderings, you can type those in there. And just note, if he doesn't respond right away, it's because we will probably be addressing that in the future of the webinar. So if it doesn't come up and we've hit on a lot of points, please make sure to post that one more time. The goals of today is that you, the teachers or instructional coach or anyone who supports teachers will learn how to use the 4 steps of assessments using Google Classroom or Canvas. I did see that there are some teachers signed on today that are using Schoology. We currently do not have a Schoology integration. We are working on that, and we are hoping it's going to come out sometime in the next few months or before the new year. But you're welcome to stay on and learn about how assessments works and what the data looks like. But again, currently right now we integrate into Google Classroom and Canvas. So just a fair warning. The topics we'll be covering today, you're going to learn how to create an account in Assessments, whether you use Google Classroom or Canvas. We'll talk about how to create an assignment, what the student experience looks like. So I'll actually play the student so you can see what kind of feedback they get. We're going to talk about how to access the data on the assignment report. And then lastly, we're going to make some suggestions on how to share and analyze answers together from the data report with your students. Most likely a big chunk of us today are you doing virtual learning, whether it's a blended model or fully virtual. So we have some suggestions both ways. And just some introductions. Again, my name is Dawn Peterson. I am a teacher engagement manager at ASSISTments. I also was a teacher for 14 years. I taught 8th grade math here in Massachusetts. And I used ASSISTments for 10 years in my classroom. So I am a big cheerleader for ASSISTments because I used it with my students and I know the value of all the great data that is generated. And Brian, if you want to unmute yourself and introduce yourself.
Sure. So I'm Brian Story. I'll be your chat moderator today. I've already been introducing myself to some folks in the chat. I'm also a teacher engagement manager, and I taught for a decade prior to this work with ASSISTments in DC Public Schools and Norfolk Public Schools in Virginia.
Great, thank you, Brian. So again, he will be answering any questions that you have in the chat, and if he doesn't answer them right away, he'll either bring them to my attention or it's something that we'll be covering throughout the webinar. All right, so let's see. Clicking on the right screen here. So here we go. Before we get started with how to use ASSISTments, excuse me, I'm going too far. Let's talk a little bit of background of what is ASSISTments and basically what brought you here today. So there we go. What is ASSISTments? ASSISTments is a forever free tool. It is free for districts. It is free for teachers. It will always be free. That provides teachers and students the feedback that they need to grow and improve. ASSISTments is designed to be flexible and support different teaching needs in person and virtually. I just want to note again that currently we are integrated with Google Classroom or Canvas. Schoology is coming, but currently we do not have Schoology. If you are a Schoology user, I recommend that you join our Facebook page or other social media, or join our sign up for our newsletter, which I'll show you about later, and you'll get updates as we get them in. And ASSISTments is really designed best for grades 4 and above, given the fact that students are completing work independently, virtually on the computer. So we do have content starting at grade 1, but just note that it is, we find that it works best when students do have that ability to work independently starting around grade 4. So I want to share some information with you that we're really excited about. We know there's a lot of ed tech tools that are out there, and we like to highlight the fact that we are one of the few proven tools by rigorous research to show that that we improve student math achievement with a tier 1 rating from Evidence for ESSA. So we are one of 3 middle school math tools that has earned this achievement. And also, we got that rating because in the state of Maine, sorry, my computer's a little bit slow today. There we go. In the state of Maine, we ran a randomized control trial. And the results of that trial showed that students gained an additional 2/3 of a year in math learning. And also ASSISTments use also lowered the achievement gap. So students that were struggling a bit more at the beginning actually increased more than the students that weren't. So we're proud to say that we are research driven. We're always doing some research on the back end to see how students learn best. And just a couple testimonials from teachers. We love to share these because there's so many teachers out there. You'll see if you join the Facebook page that just love ASSISTments. One teacher, Yamika in North Carolina, the reason why she loves ASSISTments and finds it so valuable is that she, like many of you may have, she has large classes of 25 plus, and she can't possibly get around and give feedback to every student like she'd like to. So ASSISTments support her in being able to give feedback to the students so that they know how they're doing. And then Ivory, also a teacher in North Carolina, says that ASSISTments saves her a huge amount of time because she can look at the assignment report and quickly determine which students need help. And in addition to that, which problems that were assigned need a little bit extra support. All right. So let's get to it. So we're going to talk today about the 4 steps of ASSISTments. And the 4 steps of ASSISTments are basically the same 4 steps you would kind of think over anytime you create independent practice for your students. First, you create the assignment. So we're going to go through that step, how to create an assignment in ASSISTments. I'm going to show you what the student view looks like. So what kind of feedback the student's going to get as they do their work. Step 3 is assessing class performance. I think of this as when I was in the classroom and I would say, hey students, put your hand up if you had trouble on number 1. Okay, what about number 2? And it was like, geez, it was like twisting their arms to get them to share information. So we get to assess class performance in a much more efficient way. And then step 4 is analyzing answers together. So basically taking all that data and sharing it out with students and letting it form the instruction that you provide. So we are going to get started almost with I'll call this step 0, creating your account in ASSISTments. So again, this is the 3rd time. I just want to make sure everyone's aware that right now we are only integrated into Canvas and Google. So if you are Schoology, definitely stay and check out what we have. It's going to be very similar when we release that integration, I'm sure. All right. So for each one of these steps, I'll stop there. So a couple things when you're getting set up is that if you are a Google Classroom user, just note that if your school's G Suite has already tagged you as a teacher, you are all set and you should be authorized very easy. If your school's G Suite has not set you up as a teacher, you will need to request account during the login process, and Brian or myself or someone else on the help desk that day will manually verify you. So I'll show you what that process looks like. And just a note for Canvas that in order for you to use the Canvas integration, your school does need to have an institutional Canvas account versus the free individual teacher account. And this is important that the Canvas admin does have to set up the integration on the back end before teachers can use it. So just as an example, if you're a teacher who's already tried to assign with Canvas and you're getting some kind of error message, that might mean that your Canvas administrator hasn't set up the connection or maybe made an error. So I'll be sharing out this slide deck with you after. And Brian, maybe you can share out the Getting Started with Canvas link from the website, put that in the chat so that everyone using Canvas is off to a really excellent start.
Yep,
And last, yeah, thanks, Brian. And last, I just want to note that we are in no way affiliated with Canvas or Google Classroom. We're not trainers. So some of the questions you may pose, we might say you might need to go to Canvas or the Google Help Desk in order to get the answers to your questions. All right, so for each one of these steps, like I started to say, I am going to kind of talk through it a little bit, and then I'm going to go and demo it live so you can see actually what it looks like. And if you've got double screens, you might even do this right along with me. So when you're creating an account, you're going to start at assistments.org and click on Login. You're going to choose your LMS, and then you're going to just log in with the credentials that you already have created. So creating a new account is actually quite simple. It's going to look no different than probably when you log into your Canvas or log into your Google Classroom. So let me go ahead and show you what this looks like. I know there's a lot of Google Classroom people in here, and there are Canvas as well, so I want to make sure I am hitting both. And so here I am at ASSISTments.org, and I'll give you a tour of the website. We just did a nice refresh last week, so towards the end I'll show you what kind of resources we have. But I'm going to start over here and click on Sign Up. And I think I might already be signed in, so I'm going to log out and just show you that one more time. So here we go. Sorry about that. I'm always logged in. I got so many screens open. Maybe some of you can relate to that. So I'm going to click on sign up. And then I'm going to see this screen to sign in with Canvas or Google Classroom. So I'm going to choose sign in with Google Classroom first. And I'm already logged in, like I said, but at this point you will be prompted to log in with your Google ID. Make sure it's the Google ID that's associated with your Google Classroom. Sometimes teachers will log in with their personal email address, and we can certainly give you an account, but it's not going to help you to assign integrated into Google Classroom. So like I said, it does not look very much different than just logging into your Google Classroom account or any other Google sign-in, things like that. So it's that easy, and that's going to look the same every time that you log in. I'm going to go ahead and log out and then show you the same thing using Canvas. Canvas looks a little bit different just because of the institutional ID. So I'm going to go ahead and sign up. I'm going to choose sign up with Canvas. Here, either your school is going to give you the URL to type in here, or if your school already has shared that with you, you can search. So I'm going to find my WPI infrastructure here and press login. Once again, if you're getting any error messages here, that means something on the back end went wrong. So, so we can definitely help your Canvas administrator. Here we're going to authorize. Canvas is a very tight ship, and they like you to authorize a whole bunch. And then here we are. I know I'm logged into both because I see my name up here in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. And just another note that when you do sign in for the very first time, there will be a button that says create account that you press, and all that does is generate your name and email address in our system so that you can assign successfully. So I am going to pause here and just see if there's any questions coming up in the chat regarding signing up, Canvas integration, anything like that, Brian, that I can help to answer now.
Nope, we are good at this time. I've been answering some questions here and there, but nothing to address for the group yet.
Okay, sounds good. So we're going to move on to step one, which is how the teacher creates an assessment. And just looking in the chat, I saw a lot of people were lured to assessments because they use a certain curriculum. So I'm going to demo something from illustrative math today, but I definitely encourage you to kind of click around and find all the content that we have. All right, so again, I'm going to kind of show you what this looks like, and then I'm going to go ahead and demo it. So to assign, you're always going to start at Explore Content. So that is basically you get to look through all the content that we have to offer, and you're going to click through all the folders that we have. Move the image out of the way here. The content that we have falls into a couple buckets. We do have open educational resources, which means free for all content. And I'll dive into this a little bit when we get into the live demo. We do have some textbooks built into ASSISTments. We have skill builders and problem sets, which are Common Core aligned in-house practice. And then we do have some release date test material that you can use to assign practice work to your students. So I'm just going to pause here for a minute and just go live into the content that we have, just so you can see when you start exploring on your own what everything looks like. So let's see here. I'm going to click into Explore Content. And again, we have open educational resources. I want to note that for all the curriculum provider material we have, whether it's textbook or open ed resources, it's organized exactly like it is on their website or in the textbook. So for example, Open Up Resources has units. Within those units, we have practice problems, student-facing tasks, and cool downs, and then you can choose the lesson level. All the same problems. We just did a nice refresh of all the illustrative material. So we're constantly updating to make sure that we're current based on what's available online. Back to Explore Content. Again, we also have textbook curriculum material. Just a note on that is that if you are using one of the textbooks, your students do need to have the, let's see, the textbooks, either a virtual or a hard copy. Due to copyright, we can't actually embed the questions in, but we have put all of the answers in. So for example, if you wanted to assign some textbook material to students, this is what they're gonna see. But as long as they have the textbook, they'll be able to read the question and then answer and still get feedback, and the teacher will get a nice data report to show them how they did. Moving on, again, just to explore some content. I hope one of everyone's next steps today is explore all the content that we have to offer. We have skill builders and problem sets. Again, these are both in-house built problem sets. Skill builders and problem sets are both organized by grade level and by Common Core strand. So if you're looking to give students some additional practice in a specific area, you can assign these. And just a note, skill builders, students need to get 3 in a row correct in order to show mastery. So students actually place out of this. And if you come to New User Part 2, Brian's gonna be talking more about how to use skill builders. And then lastly, we do have standardized test practice. We have a whole bunch in Massachusetts and New York. And we dabble here and there, but again, a great question bank to go to if you're looking for just extra practice for students. All right, so let's talk about assigning, and then we'll pause for questions. So to create an assignment, you're going to find the problem level, or excuse me, the lesson that you want to assign from. You're going to be able to choose which problem specifically you want to assign to. You're going to click on Assign to Canvas or Assign to Google Classroom. You'll be prompted to import your classes and your rosters, and then you're going to have some choices to modify details. Just a note, I talked to someone today and they said, I assigned it and then I didn't even realize I assigned it because it was so fast and easy. So I hope everyone out there thinks the same. So let me go ahead and show you what this looks like. So I'm going to start back here at ASSISTments.org and click on Explore Content. So again, make one of your next steps today to explore all the content, see what applies to you. I'm going to go to Illustrative Math, and we have grade 6 all the way through high school for illustrative. I'm going to click into 7, Unit 2. Notice we have a little breadcrumbs bar up here, so if you need to go back, you can definitely click back easily. Practice problems, into the lesson, and that's going to open up a new window, and I'll see this screen. So at this point, I can choose to select all the problems in the problem set, or I can select some select problems just by clicking on the box to the left of this ID. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to pick a few problems from this problem set. Maybe this is something you do the first week of school or so students aren't feeling too overwhelmed. Just a note that at this point, if you also want to bookmark this lesson, you can do that. And you can also view it as student view. So if you were interested in playing the student before you assign it to see what kind of feedback they're going to get for this particular problem set, that's where that feature is here. So first I'm going to assign with Google Classroom to show you how that works, and then I'll follow up with Canvas. So that brings me to this screen here. And again, the first time I assign, I'm going to click Import. And that's going to populate a list of all the classes that I have currently set up in my Google Classroom. I've already imported my classes, but you're going to select here and press Import. And those classes are going to show up here on your Select a Class list. So you can assign to one class or assign to multiple classes at once. I'm just going to choose one and click Next. And now I have a couple optional options. I can change the name of the assignment. So if I wanted to call this Tuesday Math Homework, you can certainly do that. So it's not as cumbersome of a title, whatever you want. You can set a release date if you'd like. You can set a due date. Just a note that the due date will not remove the assignment from your Canvas or Google Classroom. It'll just note on the report, on the assignment report that we talk about in a minute, if students have done it late or on time. So you can certainly set that due date so students know when it's supposed to be due. But again, just note that it will be available to them past that due date. So I'm going to leave those blank and I'm going to click assign. And I'm going to get a success message. There we go. And if I click over to my Google Classroom and refresh that page, we're going to see that assignment both in the stream. There we go. There we go. Right there, Tuesday math homework. And we'll also see that assignment in the classwork tab. And here in the classwork tab is where you can organize it into different topics and however you organize your Google Classroom. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to do the same thing with Canvas just to show those Canvas users how this integration works. So I'm on that same assignment. I have clicked the problems that I want to assign to my class. We can still view the problem set right over here. And I'm going to click on Assign to Canvas. Hopefully logging into too many accounts. Yeah, you shouldn't have to do this again, but I'm logged into probably 15 different accounts on my computer. So I'm putting my institution name in again. I'm going to authorize. So now I'm in my Canvas account logged in. Once again, you can import the classes that already exist in Canvas. All the classes that are set up in Canvas will populate on this list. You can still assign to one or many. I'm going to click next. Same deal here. I'll call it Tuesday homework just for fun. And I'll press assign. And I know I'm successfully created in Canvas. I get that message. And if I go over to my Canvas account here and open up Miss Peterson's demo class, Canvas lists the newest assignments way down at the bottom so you can see it appears right here. All right, so I will pause there. I've given a lot of information about how to assign. Hopefully you followed those steps. Again, we will be sharing the slide deck and the recording. We have lots of resources on the website as well, but I'll pause here and see if there's any questions about content or assigning that I can help to answer.
Sure. We just have one teacher's asking, can you assign to just one student?
Yes, you can. So that is a feature of Canvas or Google Classroom. So for example, if I want this assignment to go out to one or a group of students, maybe it's for differentiation purposes, maybe you're giving some extra practice. In Google Classroom, we're going to go to the assignment that we already assigned. We're going to edit. And then up here in the right, we see a list of who this assignment is for. So we can click or unclick any students. And that is the only student or group of students that are going to see that appear in their Google Classroom stream. In Canvas, it looks a little bit different, but same idea. So I'm going to click on that assignment. And we're going to, let's see, I think I can also just go to edit. Oh, here we go. So I'm going to edit the assignment that I've already pushed out to Google Classroom. And if I scroll down a bit, it's a little more hidden than it is in Google Classroom. I can assign, right now it's set to everyone. So I might have already created a group of students, maybe students who need, who have IEPs. I can assign to any specific students that are in the class, and then just make sure to save that afterwards, so that you save that group of students that you're assigning to. All right, what else can I answer right now, Brian?
Right now, I think we're good to go.
All right, fabulous. That's how I know I'm doing a good job.
Man.
All right, so we're going to move on to student view. So you'll get to see what the students are going to experience when they do their work. So the student experience is step 2. So again, I'm going to just talk through it a little bit, and then I'll go live and show you what that looks like in both LMSs, which are learning management systems. I forget that not everyone knows the term LMS. So the learning management systems are Google Classroom and Canvas. So the student basically is not going to really know that they are going to a brand new ASSISTments assignment. They're not going to any external websites. To access the assignment, the student is going to go right into their Canvas or Google Classroom, make sure they're logged in, and click on the link that the teacher has assigned. The very first time that they log in, they are going to see a create a new account button. They'll only see that the very first time. And just like I told you as the teacher's going to see that button, students are going to see it as well. They will not be asked for any additional information. They will not need to input their birthday and social security number and address and things like that. All it does is generate in our system. And while I'm thinking of it, Brian, while I'm going through this part, if you could find the Getting Started for Students video, we've actually created a video that shows students basically an overview of assessments, how to log in, what kind of feedback they're getting. So if you could throw that in the chat, that would be great. So the student's going to be brought right into student view of assessments. They're going to get one question at a time. There's been a misconception out there on the web that when students use assessments, they're like using a PDF or entering answers into a form or something like this. Assessments is very interactive, and we're giving students feedback on each of the problems that they do. So again, students see one question at a time, and they're going to get feedback as they go. The feedback that they get is just corrective feedback. If they get it right, they're told they're correct. If they get it wrong, they're told they're incorrect. They literally have unlimited number of tries to hopefully get that correct. And don't worry, the teacher is going to be able to see if the student got it right on the first try, second try, third try. We'll go all through that. If a student is stuck, which we know that students may be struggling a little bit in a virtual environment, we do have a button that says Show Answer that students can press so that they can proceed with the assignment. But once again, you'll be able to see that if a student presses that button. When the students completed, they get to see basically a summary of how they did. They can see what their average is up against the class average. They can click on these IDs over here on the left to see how, review the problem. And this is where students are gonna get feedback if their teacher left them feedback on an open response question. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you what this looks like live, and then we'll take some more questions. So I'm gonna start off with Canvas on this one. So I am a student in Canvas in Mr. Story's class. So again, students are just going to log into their LMS as they always would to get their notes, to get their assignments, anything like that. They're gonna see a list of everything that the teacher has assigned. And I'm gonna go down here and click on this assignment. So that's gonna open up with a link within. When the student clicks on that link, they will be asked to log in with just authorize their Canvas connection. Once again, the very first time they log in, they'll see a pop-up that says, do you want to create an account? They should press that button. And then they're brought right into the student tutor. From this point on, the experience is exactly the same with Google Classroom and Canvas. So I'm just going to pop over to Google Classroom and show that, and then I'll continue with what kind of feedback the students get. So again, here I am in a student's Google Classroom account. Students don't need to go to assistments.org, anything like that. They're going to open up the assignment and click on the link that's within. At this point, students are already logged in with their G Suite credentials, their school email address, so they may be asked to log in again, but if they're already logged in, I think it depends on the cookies settings or save settings on their personal device. So here we are. So this is our student tutor or our student experience. So the students get the question. I'm going to kind of play 4 different types of students. So first I'm going to play a student who gets it right on the first try. So if they do, they get that nice positive feedback, correct, and they can move on to the next problem. I want to note that they have 100% on the progress bar. And we as an assessments organization do not advocate that the scores generated are grades in your grade book, but just a snapshot of how the student is doing formatively. So I'm going to go on to the next problem. So for this particular problem, maybe the student didn't get it right the first time or the second time, and you'll note that the progress bar is going down, just indicating how many incorrect responses they had. And I'm going to get it right the third try because I as a student am one that perseveres, and I got it right. So the progress bar goes down to 33%, just letting us know that they got it wrong twice and then they got it right on their own, which for me is definitely a success for a student. All right, now this one's kind of challenging. So I'm a student here that either likes to see how many digits I can put in, or I really have no idea what's going on. I missed the Zoom lesson one day, and I'm gonna need to press show answer on this one. So it tells me what the answer is, so I can type that in, and then move on. Again, the teacher is going to be able to see very easily, very clearly who had to press that button, so you can take next steps. And then lastly, I just want to highlight that we do have a number of questions and assessments that are asking students to explain their answers, show their work, things of that sort, upload a picture. So students do have the option here in the open response box. And Brian, this would be a great time to find that open response student video and share that when you have a chance. Students can type in their answer. They can create a table of values. We have a virus editor here, which is similar to what students see on state testing. So they can enter in all types of different math symbols, equations, expressions, matrices. If you're a high school teacher, this should make you a little bit excited, maybe not so much for the elementary group. And then students also have an option to upload a picture. So for example, if I was asking students to show their work in the form of a diagram, there would be some instructions in here telling a student that they have to press the image button. And they would find where they save that image, whether it's something they did on paper, whether it's something they did on some kind of drawing tool on their computer. And I just want to note that when they press submit answer, they're not going to get immediate feedback just because the nature of the open response question, but the teacher will have the option of going in and leaving feedback. So I am all done with that. So I press finish. And once again, here is the student report or the student summary. Students can see the question that they answered right over here. Let me zoom out a bit so you all can see that. There we go. They get to see how they did up against the class. And this may be coming into the chat. A lot of teachers say, well, can I get rid of that column? I don't really want them to compare themselves to their peers. And we have a note of that may be something that teachers can turn on and off in the future. So I will pause here. Next step we're going to do is to look at the data report, accessing that. I'll show you how to leave feedback if that's something that you want to do. So I'll come back over here and see if there's any questions that I can answer from the chat.
We are good at this time, Dawn.
All right, fabulous. Okay, so I am going, right back here. Next, we're going to talk about step 3, assessing class performance. So this is where we get to view the data report and kind of read that data report and figure out what we're going to do with it. And I'll just put in a plug here that our new user part 2 is going to dive a lot deeper into the data, what to do with it, recommendations on what you can do in different situations. So at the end, we'll give you the dates for that, and hopefully we see you there. So for the teacher to access the assignment report, the teacher is going to go into their LMS, Google Classroom or Canvas, and they're going to click on the link within the assignment they want to view data for. So just a note that when the students clicked on this link, they were brought to the assignment. When the teacher clicks on this link, they're going to be brought to the data. And the assignment report, I'm just going to give you a quick overview of what kind of data you're going to be able to see, and then we'll go live. So you will see the class average. You'll get to see, of course, the answer key. A lot of teachers ask about that on social media. I want to see that answer key real quick. The score per individual problem. So each of these PRIDs at the top, those are our coding for each question. So for this question, 52%, 72, etc. And then if there was a common wrong answer, which means 3 or more students in the class gave the same incorrect answer, that's going to be noted here as well. And just on a side note, that was my favorite thing to use in class because it really told me about common misconceptions. Additionally, we get to see how each individual student did. That's each row. We can access the details report, which gives us a deeper dive on data. I'll show you that when we get live. Here's where you can score essay questions or open response questions, and then you get to see how much time was spent on the assignment. And then the symbols that you see in the report tell you basically about how quickly the student met success. If we see the green check mark, that tells us the student got it right on the first try. The green X indicates the student got it right on the second or third try, and that's going to be matched with a 67 or 33%. 67 is the second try, 33 is the third try. If a student gets a red X, that tells us that they did get it right eventually, but it took them more than 3 tries. And then the yellow, the highlighted yellow, that tells us the student had to press show answer. And again, the teacher will be able to do what they wish with that information. They might determine the student was really struggling, or maybe the student wanted to see how many yellows they could get on their report. So let me go ahead and show you what this looks like, both in Google Classroom and Canvas. So here, I closed my Google Classroom, so let me log into that real quick. So here I am in Google Classroom as a teacher. And I don't know about everyone out there, but I like to live in not the stream, the classwork tab. I find that to be much more organized. And I'm gonna scroll down to Tuesday math homework and click on the link. Notice that it says that one student has turned in, so that'll automatically happen when students finish their assignment. They don't need to press turn it in like they might need to do with other assignments. And I'm gonna click on the link. So that's gonna open up again what we call the assignment report. So first thing I'm gonna do is hide student names, which is something you'll wanna do if you're sharing data with others, whether it's the students in your class, whether it's at a parent conference. And here's the student. I just completed the work, so this is how it's gonna show up on the report. Now you can see this is a very boring looking report because I was just the only one who did it. So I'm just gonna take a moment and open up a more populated version of the report. And I'll just have that open for a moment. And I will show you what this looks like in Canvas as well. But from this point on, everything is identical with Google and Canvas. All right, so here's a nice populated report. Once again, we get to see the average score for the class. We get to see how each individual question performed. These are my common wrong answers. And just to clarify, this means that 36% of the students who got it wrong said the answer was 9. We have the correct answers, of course. We have time spent over here on the right. And then, of course, the symbols that we see, check marks, student got it right the first time. I see some green X's match with a 67 or a 33. So this basically gives you a snapshot of how the student did. I just want to zone in on one student right here who has a 62%. I mentioned before that we really don't advocate using these scores as grades in the gradebook because this score tells us about student perseverance. They tried again. The student got this right on their own. They eventually got this right on their own. Same with the last question. So we really don't want to assign that 62% as a grade because for me as a teacher assessing this report, I find this student to be much more successful than 62. Again, it just gives us that snapshot of understanding. So for this student, actually, I'll zone in on this student right here. If I want to kind of see how they struggled for these couple questions, or even this one where they asked for the answer, I'm going to click on this triple dot next to their name. And I could show the student name at this point if I want, but I'm going to look at a details report. So the details report here is giving me a play-by-play of everything the student did, how long it took them, each one of their responses. This is their first response, a minute and a half later. This was their second response. So this might be able to help you diagnose as the teacher, were they really struggling? Did they not put in enough effort? And this is the first spot that you can also score an essay question. So you can score on a 4-point scale and leave any kind of feedback you want. Okay, it could be a link to a video on YouTube you want them to watch. It could be any kind of written feedback. Great work on this answer, whatever you want. And if you blink, you're not going to see this, but when I click out of that box, it stays a little longer than it used to. It does say that it's automatically saved, and that'll carry over to the report. So again, this is the details report. One place to score open response also gives you more details about the student. And also on the triple dot, a lot of teachers ask, can students redo work if you wanted to give them to them again? This is where you'll find delete progress. So it'll actually wipe out all the student responses. So when they click back into the assignment, it'll start them over from scratch. Essay scoring, the other way to score essays is in this column right here. So if I click on essay scoring, that'll open up a new window. And here is where you can score all the essays for that particular question. I'm going to show the problem up here just so you can see what it was. So for this question, it was explain your work. So I have that there. I can score all the students and leave feedback. And again, it does save automatically. There's no save button, and that'll carry right over to the report. And I do want to take this opportunity to show you that if you do leave feedback for students, they're not automatically notified by Canvas or Google Classroom. I haven't forgot about you Canvas people. I'll show you how to get the report in just a moment. But we recommend that whether you're in Canvas or Google Classroom, either send an email to the students in your class or even just leave a comment with a note like, I want you all to click back into the ASSISTments link to see your feedback, because when the student clicks back into that link, once they're done, they'll get to see the feedback that the teacher left, and also that open response will be scored. All right, I'm gonna quickly show Canvas and then I'll pause for questions, because as always, I've told myself I need to slow down and then I always forget. So I'm gonna go into my teacher account in Canvas. Here we go. And I'm going to click into one of the assignments. I'll click into this first one here. We see the ASSISTments link within that assignment. And when I click on that in my teacher role, we'll always be asked to authorize. Canvas loves security, and then we'll be brought to that assignment report. So in this report, I only had one student, so it'll show me all that student's data. Everything else is the same. So I will pause here, and Brian, I'm wondering if there's any questions in the chat regarding the assignment report, the details report, anything else I can answer.
Just a teacher did mention, no big questions right this moment, but a teacher did mention that she wasn't sure because she puts in a score for in the essay scoring page, and there's no save button. So she was just wondering how can she make sure that like is that getting saved, and how can she see it?
Absolutely. So if we're in Google Classroom and I leave the score, I'm going to refresh that here. And if I go back to the report, so here's the report with all the student data in it. I think I'm in the right one. Just zoom out a little bit. If I refresh this page, you should see all of the scores that you gave right here. And if the scores are pushed through, they're going to be noted, of course, they're out of 4, so 0, 25, 50, or 75%, or 100. If the scores have pushed through, you can count on that the feedback has pushed through to the students as well. And same thing with Canvas. As long as you refresh this report, you'll see the scores populate in this essay scoring column. Anything else, Brian?
I think that's it right now.
All right, fabulous. So we are on to step 4, analyzing answers together. So first off, why do we analyze the answers together? We want to make sure that teachers that are using ASSISTments are using ASSISTments full circle, which means you're not just using it as an assessment tool, but you're actually taking the data back to the students. So we celebrate answers together with students to let them know that we are celebrating their successes. We may need to use this data to review and reteach, and definitely using data to back up why you're reteaching something with students is very valuable for them. Again, I worked with 8th graders, so they wanted to know the reason why I was doing everything. If facilitating meaningful math discourse about common wrong answers, like I said, you can use those common wrong answers to brainstorm common misconceptions, even challenge students to figure out what the misconception was, and to reinforce a growth mindset, which is one of the biggest reasons we do not advocate using the scores as grades. It's okay to make incorrect attempts. That's part of the learning process. And we recommend that teachers share the results of the ASSISTments data report with students 75% of the time, and bringing them full circle, letting them know that you are looking at the data and you're making actionable moves using the data.
Hey, Dawn.
Yes.
I did have one question. I apologize. One teacher said that they had seen something about hints. Can you just address hints briefly?
Yes, absolutely. So in the in-house content, which means the skill builders and the problem sets, we have student supports built into those at this time, meaning if a student gets it wrong, they may receive a video or just written hints, things like that. And in our open educational resources, Illustrative, Open Up, and then Eureka Math, We have a project going on over the summer where we've actually hired wonderful teachers to embed hints into that open source material. So hopefully that will be released soon so that you can count on when you assign open source material, hints will be built in so students will be able to access those as a support.
Thank you, Dawn.
Yeah, great. All right, so ways to analyze answers in class. It would be my dream as a teacher right now to be in the classroom and not having to go through everything that you all are going through. So you are saints, and I understand the challenges that you have right now. And if we were in class, we were designed as an in-class tool. We are not a new tool that is here just for virtual learning. We recommend that teachers use the ASSISTments data report to start the class with a review of yesterday's exit ticket or last night's homework. That was my routine every day, to project that report up on the board and have students really understand what they were looking at and tell me what problems they had to go over. You could also, in class, use the data report to figure out, to maybe sort and figure out which students need some small group attention, some reteaching. Maybe you have centers in your classroom where students do different activities. So the data report can help steer both of those choices. And then if you are virtual right now, we have some super creative teachers that have been creating screencastifys to go over the report, sharing and discussing data in their live virtual class, or even asking students to comment and reflect on common wrong answers via a virtual discussion. I'm going to share just a 2-minute video with you guys, just showing you an example of what one teacher did and shared with us. This is Andrew, and he is an awesome resource. He's an ASSISTments ambassador right now. So again, it's only going to be about 2 minutes, but I would love to share this with you if I can get it to share. Here we go. So I'm going to press play.
Hey there, everybody. So we're going to take a look at last night's learning opportunity, or yesterday's learning opportunity. So as you can see from the scores, you did quite well. 93, 95, 100, lots of 100s, 87, 88, 100, 99, and then 63. So there's just this one question that gave you difficulty, and it was based on, is her account balance proportional to the number of weeks of deposits? So let's take a look at actually that problem. You might recall, actually I'll go back and we can click on the actual problem itself so we can look at the problem, and then what we'll do is we'll take a look at the work that I just showed you briefly. But this was the one where at the end of the summer job, Caitlin had saved $120 from her summer job, and then she's going to, that's her initial deposit into the bank. And then as the school year starts, Caitlin is going to deposit another $5 a week. So if you look at the table on this, you'll notice that she started with $120 when she's at week 0. So if you were to graph this, this doesn't start at 0, 0. It might be a straight line going up $5 every single month. But what happens is it doesn't start at 0. So the fact that this is not 0, 0 right here, that means it cannot be proportional. So I hope that this was helpful for you, and good luck.
All right, so again, these are ASSISTments goals in the virtual world. This is an excellent video. So once you get comfortable with ASSISTments, hopefully you'll get to a point where you can share the data virtually like Andrew does. So I will pause again. Step 4 is kind of quick and vague a little bit, just because Brian is going to be touching upon that in part 2. And again, give you suggestions on how you could use ASSISTments to engage with students based on the data report. So any questions I can answer about step 4. And then we're going to start our wrap up.
We just have one teacher asking what program it was that Andrew uses in that video. Do you happen to know what he uses to show the work there?
I am not sure. But you know, I can ask him, and maybe he can post in our Facebook page. We're still very close with him. So if you join our Facebook user group, I'll see if he can share out that information.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right, so we are going to start our wrap up here. And I just want to note, we are going to, I think I said note like 500 times, but that's my routine. I just want to note we are going to share all the slides and the recording after the webinar's conclusion. So recap of topics today. We talked about first, step 0, how to create an account. And just a reminder here that if you are using Canvas and having any issues, that does mean that there is some issues on the setup process. So we'd love your Canvas administrator to get in touch with us at contact@assistments.org, and we are happy to help you. We want to get you started as soon as possible. Step 1 is creating an assignment. Step 2, you get to see the student experience, what kind of feedback they got. We talked about step 3, assessing class performance, what type of information is on the data report. And then step 4, analyzing answers together, whether you're in a distance learning virtual environment or some kind of blended model. I have 5 tips for getting started that I'd love to share with you, and these links you'll be able to click on when you get the slide deck. First is make sure that you're clear with messaging to students and parents that the score from assessments is not a grade. And we even created a parent letter template that you can download, copy, make it your own, basically explaining what assessments is, a formative tool that's helping students. I know that when I was teaching, students would see those scores and just their head would explode, and their parents would be really anxious because they see percentages and they think of them as a grade. So sharing that right off the bat at the beginning of the school year will definitely alleviate some of that tension and that stress for students and parents. My second suggestion is create a system so that students are showing their work. While we are an online platform, by no means are we saying students should not do their work. One of our teachers has created a student reflection form that you can find linked here. And it basically gives students a template to do their work, reflect on their work, if they didn't get it right the first time. So you may have something that works a little bit differently, but once again, like, we totally advocate that students should be writing things down, showing their work, and then inputting their answers. The third thing is making the first assignment low stakes. We do have, I'm just going to flip back over here to our website, we have an assessments practice problem set that you can assign to students, which is basically, let me go back here to explore content, which is basically just a silly kind of problem set asking easy questions with directions, so students can get the hang of using assessments before they're, it's high stakes. So let me see here. I'm going to click on explore content, explore more content. Let's see. I don't think I'm logged in, which is why it's not doing this so far. Let me see here. Let me log in and then I'll show you exactly where that is, but it is also linked in the slide. Down at the bottom here, getting started with students. And there it is, the learning assessments practice set. So again, this is a very low stakes problem set, kind of silly. It just shows them what kind of feedback they're getting, gives them practice typing into an open response box. It tells them exactly what to plug in. So it just lets them kind of have a little playground of using assessments. And just to clarify also, I think definitely choose something that's low stakes, whether it's a skill builder from the year previous, so they find it easy to use assessments, so they don't start hating it on the first experience because it's something that's really challenging and new for them. Couple more tips is model a clear protocol for open response questions. So some teachers were asking earlier today in the Facebook page, should I show students how to do this? Should I tell them how to upload? We do have an open response student tutorial linked here, a little video that you're welcome to share in your Canvas or Google Classroom. And it walks students through the experience of using assessments, taking a screenshot, uploading it, things like that. And lastly, build a habit. Start assessments from day one. Here's a link to Andrew's video, just so you can see some suggested ways of sharing data reports with students in a virtual environment. Again, we recommend 75% of the times you're taking that data back to students, allowing you to inform your instruction. I want to make you aware of some upcoming webinars. Brian and I are hosting a drop-in help session on Monday, and then on, let's see, September 7th. My gosh, we're almost in September, where if you have any questions or just want to learn from others' questions, you can register for that and just drop in with questions. We have 2 upcoming new user part 2. One is next Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern time, and then we have one at the beginning of September as well. And again, Brian will be talking about a deeper dive on data, what to do with the data reports, and talk a little bit more about skill builders and how you can use those in your classroom. And Brian has created a wonderful Getting the Best Start in Class and From a Distance targeted webinar. And we're really excited. This is the first of these webinars, and we're going to be highlighting 3 teachers, and they're going to share their experience using ASSISTments, and there'll be lots of question and answer time. So you can sign up here on the deck, or Brian, if you could put that sign up. People might want to sign up right now before they forget. So if you could put that, the upcoming webinars from the website right in the chat, that would be great.
Yep, already done.
All right. And then lastly, I'm just going to give you a little tour of our new website and show you where some resources are in case you get off this call and you completely forget where all the links are. So first off, when we're at ASSISTments, we talked about explore content. We have completely redone our help center. So we have user resources, which include videos on getting started, the parent letter, our parent resources, and a lot of different how to read data reports and things like that. We have our FAQ page. We do post the recordings of all the webinars that all the new webinars that we have. So if you're looking for other webinars or you want to share the link with someone, it'll be here in the webinar library. And then upcoming webinars, that's what Brian is going to share in the chat. We have our teacher corner, which is great ideas from teachers, different things that teachers are doing, and associated artifacts. So if teachers have created something like the reflection sheet, that's going to be found here in the Teacher Center. Getting involved, I'll just click on that real quick. In terms of getting involved, you could get ASSISTments certified, much like you can get Google certified. So if you want to become a ASSISTments certified teacher, you'll find that, let's see, somewhere on this page. There we go. Let's see, I think it might be under one of the other tabs, professional learning. But once you're ASSISTments certified, you can then become an ASSISTments ambassador. And here's also the link to our Facebook user community. And then lastly, we have our blog on our website, which has lots of different teacher ideas as well. So let me just go back. We'll finish our wrap up. And let's see here. We also have our monthly newsletter. So again, people who are using Schoology, definitely sign up for the newsletter right at the bottom of our webpage, and you'll get notifications on that. Social media, and Brian and I are 2 of the fabulous people on the other side of contact@assistments.org. So any questions you have, Canvas administrators, you can send them our way right to contact@assistments.org. So just in the nick of time, we got like 1 or 2 minutes left. So we'd love to hear from you in the chat. Based on what you learned today, what is your priority next step for getting started with ASSISTments? And Brian, maybe you can read a couple of those out. And then we are going to share just a quick, very quick, like 3 or 4 question survey that we'd love you to fill out before you go today. So Brian will share that. But first, share your next priorities. What are you going to do once you get off this webinar or this week to get started to use ASSISTments in your class?
All right, we'll wait just a second to see if we get some response.
Everyone's being shy now. I saw there was lots of comments throughout the webinar.
Oh yeah, all sorts of questions and comments. All right, so it says making an account. Someone said getting their Canvas admin to create permissions so that they can use ASSISTments with Canvas. Teachers talking about getting this ready for 4th and 5th grade students as independent practice. Still thinking about how they want to integrate this into their fully remote learning system that they've got going on this fall. Teachers saying thanks and that they feel prepared, like they're getting prepared for September, which is great.
Right.
Talking about how they want to integrate this into lesson plans. I see that some teachers are asking about student data. If you're curious about our data and whether or not our practices align with your district's data agreement, please reach out to us at contact@assistments.org, and we'll be happy to get you in touch with the correct people so you make sure that you can use the tool. Looks like someone else said they want to just go through and explore all the curricula and see what's available. Someone said they want to come to more webinars. So that's great.
We've got them.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And I think that's pretty much it at this time.
All right, sounds good. Well, I'm excited that everyone has some next steps moving forward. So we'd love you to take just 1 minute before you log off today. Brian just put the link to our quick feedback survey in the chat box. When you get to that survey, you do have to choose the date of the webinar, which is 8/18, and then the webinar title, which is New User Webinar Part 1, Learning the Basics. We'd love to hear your feedback. I hope I slowed down today, because I always get that feedback that I move too quickly, and I was really trying, I promise. So if you could do that, that would be absolutely wonderful. I'll leave this on this screen for a minute. And once you're done, thank you so much for coming. You're welcome to log off. The last slide I'll just show you is our thank you slide with our email address. So let me just go back so everyone has this information. Thank you for coming again. We hope you that you go right away and sign up for Brian's webinar next week, part 2, deep dive on data. And Brian, if there's any more questions that are coming up, please feel free to shout them out, and I'll see if I can answer them.
Right now we're good. Just repeating the thank you to everyone. And, we are a free service, and we depend on your feedback and surveys like this to make sure that we're able to continuously iterate and improve our sessions and make them super high quality for teachers. So we really do depend on any feedback you can give us. You can take just 30 seconds to 60 seconds to respond to our feedback form here. I'm going to go ahead and paste the link again in the chat for those of you who need it. And we really do appreciate you joining us today. Someone's asking us, we do have a few questions. Someone asks, I use the old ASSISTments. How do I get the ASSISTments 2.0? Yeah, go ahead, Dawn, if you'd like to.
Yeah, I was going to say, basically, if you used our old system, you're going to create a brand new account with the Google integration. So you will have 2 accounts. The old account will still exist. And if you email us at contact@assistments.org, we can give you some more details on that. Maybe how to get some stuff that you made in 1.0 into 2.0. I see somebody said, how do I know which version I had? If you're using the version that we walked through today, you're using ASSISTments 2.0. 1.0, you have to jump over more hills and mountains to get to.
Someone asked, would you recommend using this for grade 2? We typically don't recommend using this usually below grades 4 or 5. We do have content down to, I believe, grade 1 for some of the open source content, but we find that our platform works best for students at that grade 4 to 5 and above level. Students below that need just a little bit more assistance with completing problems than what our platform provides.
To add to that, Brian, I would say that if you're not sure, I know that some teachers are kind of desperately looking for some way to get feedback for their students. I would go into the curriculum that you, your grade level 2, I assume you're Eureka Math or Engage New York if you're looking at grade 2. You might want to go and kind of go through some of the problem sets under student view and kind of play around and think about how your students would do working through the assignments. A lot of teachers had said that the students get very frustrated with it.
Excellent. I think that is it for questions today. So just to reiterate, we thank everybody for joining us today. And if you're finished, you can go ahead and exit the Zoom for today by clicking leave in the bottom right-hand corner. Dawn and I are going to follow up. We do have another question that just popped up. Someone said on the questionnaire there was an illustrative math course, but I do not see it on the website.
On the questionnaire.
Yeah. Maybe they could, Dana, if you could specify in the chat what you mean by that.
I think what this might be is we are running a webinar similar to this for the Kendall Hunt Illustrative Math community. So if you saw that as something to check off on, it's basically the same thing. Kendall Hunt is sharing that out with their curriculum users. So if you do use Kendall Hunt Illustrative and you get something, from the powers that be that say they're doing a webinar, it's basically going to be what we just did, just a little bit more guided towards illustrative teachers.
All right. So I think they were just filling out the webinar registration form or something like that, and they saw that as an option, but it wasn't on the website. That's again because we have a specific session we are doing with Kendall Hunt teachers. If you are one of the folks that will be signing up for that, you will hear from I assume your administrator or Kendall Hunt rep. We are doing that with them.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Again, thanks for joining us, everyone. If you can click leave in the bottom right-hand corner of your Zoom screen, we do appreciate you joining us today. Feel free to follow up with any questions at contact@assistments.org, and we'll be happy to help you further.